Hello, welcome to Central Region Storm Trackers. This is a channel where you can have information that you can count on, and we are going to keep you and your family safe. A little bit about us. We are a brand new organization. We are some seasoned storm chasers, and we work year-round, 365, 24/7 to ensure that everyone has up-to-date weather regarding the central United States, as well as like the southeast. We go all the way from Montana all the way to Pennsylvania, Florida, and Texas. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go ahead and take a look into the day one categorical outlook. As we know, we do have some severe weather occurring over western, west central Illinois at the moment, as well as we have a blizzard currently ongoing through Iowa, Michigan, and as well as parts of Kansas and Nebraska. So we've also seen today that the enhanced risk was a little extended eastward into Indiana. We also see that the slight risk was also expanded to also include extreme western Ohio, extreme southwestern Michigan. Now we're looking at southeastern Iowa, and the marginal risk is now all the way down to St. Louis, and now we're all the way down into Mississippi and Alabama, now through Tennessee and Kentucky. As you can see, a good chunk of the country is expecting some thunderstorms and rain of at least some sort today. So let's go ahead and take a look in. Here is your SPC Day 1 tornado outlook. As you can see, we do have a Hatch 10% tornado risk. This is going to be over central Illinois into extreme west central Indiana. Now you can see we have that 5% down and that 2% as well. Don't let these fool you. Even at a 2%, you could still see something. So with that in mind, the National Weather Service has informed us that the probability within the enhanced zone to see a couple tornadoes is high, and a few of those tornadoes may be of EF2 strength or higher, but probably around EF2 strength. Here's your SPC day one wind outlook. All right, so let's get into this one. So as you can see, the wind is kind of a more widespread threat here, covering most of Illinois up through Chicago, most of the state of Indiana, if not the entire state, and then also portions of Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, and parts of Missouri and Iowa. We also have to look and keep in mind here too that extreme southern Wisconsin is a part of this threat as well. We're really looking at probably some super gustier winds up to 50 miles per hour or so here. So just keep that in mind. Get your loose objects, put them indoors. And then something else unique to throw out about this storm is after you guys may see tornadoes, high winds, and significant rain in Illinois there, in Indiana, immediately following after, you guys are going to see some snowfall. So let's get into that. So before we do get into that, I do want to go ahead and I want to finish up going through this. We're going to go through some models and do some model analysis here. For now on, we're going to do a video every day on this channel, and we're going to get out there, and as time goes by, I'll make sure that we find better ways to do the videos. So here's our SPC Day 1 hail outlook. St. Louis has a chance of hail. Really, the entire area that's going to be affected has a chance of hail, even actually up more northern into Wisconsin there, farther westward into Iowa, farther northern, into Michigan and into Ohio, and that threat goes all the way down to Mississippi and Alabama. Now, we do have the 15% area right there that does include the city of Chicago. We need to keep a good eye on this. This could be a hail maker. We're going to have wind threat, probability of some inch or higher hail. And you got to keep in mind, too, all these percentages are from any given point and 25 miles from that point. All right, let's get into some model analysis. So here's our composite reflectivity. This is as of about an hour ago. So about an hour ago, this is what things are looking like. You can see in the blue that we have that blizzard, the winter storm going on. It's stretching from Kansas. You see a little bit of, looks like a little bit of snow happening there in Missouri, in western Missouri, up into Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Really, just south of Chicago here, we are starting to see some cells. And on the very western part of the Illinois-Iowa border, we have seen a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings already thus far. This is radar right now. So the system's starting to come more together. You can see it's starting to band more. The darker blues, you can see the heavier snowfall happening throughout Minnesota, Iowa, even parts of Nebraska now, and Kansas. Now you can see over there in the Illinois area, we have some clusters starting to form, and these are of concern because any storm that develops today has a chance of being severe within that enhanced area that we were pointing out there in central Illinois, kind of over the border of Indiana. So we need to keep an eye on this. We need to keep in mind that the atmosphere is unstable. There's shear, there's moisture, and whenever you have shear, moisture, and instability, those are the three key ingredients for a severe thunderstorm. Now there's more that comes into play, and we'll get to that. But as of right now, you can see storms are firing off. This is exactly 1 hour from now, and this video is being recorded at 3 p.m. Alright, so take a look at that. We're starting to see more clusters pop in there. Now, there is a chance that any one of those could possibly turn into a supercell, and that's going to be the storms to watch out for. However, we do have to look around the front. Remember, gusty winds is mainly the main threat with this storm, and some hail. However, tornadoes are a possibility. So make sure you have your way to receive weather alerts. You can follow us, and we'll keep you up to date. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and you can subscribe here on YouTube, and we will keep you up to date every single day. Alright, this is 2 hours from now. You can see those storms really took off. Now you see that the southern end of the blizzard, they're starting to kind of curl there into Missouri. We have a little bit of what looks like some lighter rain in northern Missouri. Wisconsin, we're seeing some rain, possibility of some thunderstorms there. You can see we have a big cell kind of moving its way towards Chicago there. That's probably going to be more of a wind threat, but those cells south of that is going to be mainly what we believe to be a tornado threat. Alright, this is 2 hours from now. You can see that southern end of that blizzard is curling in even more. It goes up through Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan. Now, along the main area of concern here is going to be the area along the border of Illinois and Indiana. This is where I believe that we're going to see the most number of tornadoes that we see today, if we see any at all. Now, the reason I say this is because if you look at the line there, we have lots of twists, curves, there's convection, there's instability, there's that shear right there. And we just have to keep that in mind. So looking into an hour into that, now we're starting to move away from the enhanced zone. These storms could still be severe. They're starting to go into a linear mode, so we need to keep eye of that and watch very carefully of that. This is probably mainly going to turn into a wind threat. However, we can't rule out a brief spin-up tornado for folks in central Indiana and Indianapolis. So just keep your eye out. We see that winter weather kind of starting to curl its way back into Missouri. So about 3 hours from now, folks in east central Missouri, you may start to see some flurries. Kansas City, you're still getting some pretty good snowfall. Northern Missouri, we're kind of a toss up in between some rain and some snow. It really could be the difference of 10 miles with this storm. All right, 3 hours from now, you can see that snow is just pretty much lingering there in Missouri. However, not much snowfall accumulation is going to happen anywhere on the southern half of the state, nor are we going to see much accumulation on east central Missouri. However, you can start to see following in behind that storm system that came through, which is now currently in Indiana at this point. We have little blue dots, and this is all going to be snow starting to fill in over you folks in that enhanced zone. So tonight you are looking at a little bit of snowfall, upwards of, I believe it's a little less than an inch. So as you can see, that's starting to kind of tire out more. Missouri is starting to really fill up with some snow there, mainly sticking to the westward side of the state. You can see the northeastward part of the state still dealing with some, what looks to be like some light rain. And now the storm would be crossing from Indiana into Ohio. So it's starting to kind of lose its severe capabilities at this point. I don't believe there's too much worry about here. However, we still have to keep an eye out and remember that gusty winds are still going to happen. And even non-thunderstorm winds has been an issue recently here in the Midwest. We have to keep an eye on non-thunderstorm winds as well as just thunderstorm winds. So non-thunderstorm winds, we're dealing with gusts up to 50 miles an hour. Thunderstorm winds, you could be dealing with gusts up to 60, if not a little bit more. Alright, so overnight, you can go ahead and take a look. You see that the storm system's finally kind of going down there to Mississippi, Alabama, and it's going through Tennessee, Kentucky, and now Ohio. Not really too much of a severe threat here. You just got to keep weather aware. I personally don't believe anything's going to really take place down there, but we may get a severe thunderstorm or two just for some hail and some gusty winds. However, don't ever turn your eyes on tornadoes. They can happen. All right, this is the significant tornado parameter, and this is what's leading me to believe that the biggest chance of having a tornado today is going to take place right there on the border of Illinois and Indiana. And now the reason I believe this is because we have some helicity tracks, we'll get into that too, which is basically the strength of the updraft for the duration of the storm. So how strong it gets, when it gets strong to where it gets weak. And that tells you a lot about a storm, mainly about how strong it can be, how it's going to grow, the track of it. And additionally, you have a significant tornado parameter here. This is not really something that you're going to live by, but it's something for us to look at whenever we're doing model analysis. So whenever we're doing model analysis, we're going to take a look at this and we can see that we have that gray area, and that's just a chance of, that's very, very, very low on the scale here. However, where you see the color, you can't rule out tornado. So really, even in northern Mississippi, and it looks like even maybe a little bit of central Mississippi, but that's a fairly low chance. So we just cannot rule out a brief tornado. However, in those two little spots, if not three, that are a little deeper, darker in color, that's where we may see some of those bigger tornadoes. So for folks on the Illinois Indiana border, keep an eye on this. Stay weather aware. Have a way to receive warnings, if not more than one way, and make sure you're prepared and you have everything in place and you have an emergency plan in case you need to go. This is that 3-hour maximum updraft velocity. This is what I was talking about seeing the storm tracks. You can see that our longest storm tracks and what looks like to be the heaviest storm tracks travel just from central Illinois up into Indiana. And we have about 4 different spots there, as well as we have some spots there in northern Illinois. I don't think we're really going to see much there, but those could be some hail makers. Those could be some pretty intense storms. However, my biggest area of concern is going to be right there on that state line border between Illinois and Indiana. So we really just cannot fathom that you need to have a way of warning. This is taking a look at the temperatures. This was as of about an hour ago. So you can see the temperatures. There is some warm air over there on the border of Illinois and Indiana. You can see central Illinois is 53, central Indiana is 62. So that's an 8-degree difference. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but whenever you're talking about the atmosphere and convection, that is a good little amount there. So you can also see the temperatures are dropping drastically north where that blizzard is on taking. And you can see in Kansas City it's 35, in St. Louis it's 52. So you have almost a 20-degree difference. And that just comes into play with the storm as well, that even at a couple miles apart, you can start to get different temperatures. But this storm is gradient. So what that means is that it's cold and it's kind of working its way across the state to being warm. So that is a good thing in play here because it doesn't mean that you're just going 35 and then 50 and then you have drastic temperature changes, which does create issues as well amongst instability in the atmosphere. Total snowfall. So this is something I wanted to get into. So we have the current blizzard ongoing. So you can see Missouri's not really going to get a whole lot of snowfall. However, in that northeastern corner where we kept seeing the rain on radar, it's showing that they're getting about, I believe it was 4 to 5 inches of snow there. It's important to know across Wisconsin, we're going to see totals up to 8, 9 inches. There's a couple spots where it could be a foot or more on here. So we just need to keep prepared there. Central Iowa and really most of Iowa. Just keep an eye out. Be prepared. Have your plan in place, such if your electricity turns off, you lose heat. Any of that, make sure you have batteries, blankets, food, water, flashlights, whatever you need, gasoline. Stay prepared and stay warm. Here's that dew point. All right, let's take a look at the dew point. You can see Missouri. You got 50 in St. Louis, 38 in Kansas City, 39 in Chicago, 53 at Peoria, and 50 at Indianapolis. So anytime you see numbers around the 50, those are good numbers for severe weather to take place. Just basically means that there's enough moisture in the air. And really, a lot of the country is really dry right now. However, you see that Gulf moisture is coming up, and it's just touching in there, and that Canadian cold air is coming down and it's swirling, and that's what creating that low pressure system. So this is just something to look at, but we look at to keep in mind, just to see if the moisture's there. Talking about wind, this is a big one. All right, we have been being battered and beaten with wind in the Midwest for the last several days. Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico have had horrible wildfires, and unfortunately, they're not going to catch a break. So that's going to keep going with the dry air down there and the high winds, unfortunately. St. Louis has been seeing some gusty winds. Illinois has been seeing some gusty winds where we're going to be seeing gusts up to 40, 50 miles per hour. And these are going to be non-thunderstorm associated. Anything with a thunderstorm could be a little higher, upwards of 60 miles per hour gust. So we just got to keep that in mind. And anytime you see the tight little isobars, which is tight lines going around that low pressure system, that just indicates that it's a stronger system. So, going through all of this, what we have gathered, this is the cool one. So, let's take a look at radar. So it's spotty and it's starting to form up into that line, and by the time it hits that state line, we have some really strong thunderstorms, and they're starting to line up too. So this phase right here is probably the biggest phase worry about tornadoes. Once we get here, we're worried about embedded tornadoes. However, mainly going to be brief spin ups. By this point, you could see a strong tornado, not that likely. This is the point where you're going to start to see maybe a strong tornado or two. And once we get out here, it's a wind threat and hail threat. So, thank you everybody for watching. We highly appreciate you, and thank you so much.